you're seeking in this development standards package that you've put together.
Sure.
So you're going to manage bioswales, use bioswales, rain gardens, and so forth to mitigate the runoff.
Yes.
So there's going to be a lot of impervious ground there. Can your engineer that you cited here, can he put together something on the ground that in fact will provide enough by way of bioswales and other features to actually keep runoff, as you probably reduce silt, but certainly other contaminants? Is that something you can confidently?
I am confident. We've had a lot of discussion about it. It's been designed not just by our engineer, but by our landscape architects, really hand in glove. Those landscape architects are used by environmental groups
All right. So it's June 29th, 2023. It's 5:16 PM. And we will call the meeting to order. Steve, you want to do roll call?
Oh, wait a minute, I just got a text from Brad. Hold on. Yeah, I will in just a second. I've got a building fire system completely out. I thought I texted you and Daniel earlier, but see, it was your office number and not so. I'm stuck here. All right. Harper,
Here.
Lopez,
Present.
Kaufman, Salazar.
All right. So we do not have a quorum. So with that, we won't approve minutes. But I do believe we can open up for citizen comment. It's 5:16 PM. We'll open for citizen comment. And I'm assuming, Steve, no one's registered in advance.
Nobody else.
All right, so at 5:17 PM, we'll close citizen comment. We have executive session on our agenda, but I'm unaware. Do we want to go into executive session?
We don't have any executive session.
All right, so we'll skip that. All right, so the only item we have is an informational item, and it's your management report.
Okay, here goes. Charles Young is 100% occupied, and it has been just about this whole year. And we have completely repainted, well, we did all the carpentry work that needed to be done with the lot. And then we repainted the entire property. We replaced 2 roofs, and we redid the pavement and seal coated it and striped it. So that's all done. I talked to David Boudreau at, my mind's blank. At HUD yesterday, and because I had gotten a letter from somebody in Washington that we had an unsatisfactory rating of 76 out of 100 for Charles Young. And David Boudreau is our account executive, and so I set up a Zoom with him, and I said, you know, why are we getting this? And he said, don't worry about it, I'm gonna get it fixed. There'll be another one that'll come out in September, and you'll get around 100. I said, okay, well, I'm gonna trust you to make sure that happens. He said, you guys are my heroes, and I will contact the people in Washington, tell them to get the records up to date.
Good.
So, that was all good. Now, in Pete Dressing, we're 97% occupied. We have 1 vacant unit. It's number 132, and it was used as a storeroom for years by staff prior to us. We have not made it ready for the simple reason of all that. Once we started really looking at it, we saw that they had done things like pulled all the wiring out of all the air conditioning. We literally have to rebuild it, and I didn't find it wise to spend all that time on that, getting ready for that REAC. And so I contacted our AE at HUD and got her to put in a request to take that unit offline until August 3rd.
Okay.
So between now and August 3rd, we will make that unit ready and get it occupied. Right after, the day after the REAC inspection was completed on June 13th, I had the first 6 buildings done with new roofs at Pete Dressing. So we'll finish that, and the rest of those, I planned it with my roofer in a 3-phase deal based on the ability of me to be able to pay him when he finishes. And so he'll do some more in August and then finish it in October. We got 9 left, he'll probably do 4 in August and 5 in October. And then as soon as he's done with that, then I'll start saving money to have him start working all of the exterior carpentry. What we're gonna do is just peel off all the siding and trim on those buildings, because all that stuff's 50 years old, it's spongy. And we're gonna replace it with hardy board or a similar product to hardy board. Hardy board is a combination of concrete and crushed wood, powdered wood, if you will. And that stuff will last at least 50 years and not deteriorate. The only thing we'll have to do is occasionally put a coat of paint on it. And so that job is planned to be started and finished between December of 23 and December of 24. And that's like a $210,000 expense. And I built it into the workout plan that I presented to USDA and they approved. So that's where we're at there. We got a 76 on the REACT. I told you all about the sharps. Unfortunate. I mean, we were so close to a 90. There was 3 other items that were written up that between them were almost 7 points. We could have been almost at a 90. But I'll take the 76. I don't know if you all saw Brad's response to my email. He said, this day and age in REAC inspection, 76 is a good score. And he's right, you know, because we both do that kind of stuff on a daily basis. He does it more than I do because he's got more properties. We had an MOR, which is a management and operational review on June 23rd, last Friday. And Southwest Housing comes, they send one of their people, and what they basically do is analyze everything to make sure we're doing it according to HUD. And if y'all remember, when I took over, there was an MOR from like 2019 or 18, I forget what year. And it was unsatisfactory, and it was like 50 pages long with findings. And that was the top thing that I worked on when I took over, was to get that fixed. And we did, and I'm expecting this MOR that we just completed last Friday. How you doing? To be satisfactory. During the REAC inspection, we put in 30 new windows and 110 new window screens. So that was a big expense, but we needed that in order to make sure what was there didn't get written up in the REAC inspection. So, and then we do still have 2 residents at Pete Dressen that are on payment plans because of rent that they didn't pay prior to us getting here when COVID first started. And so, I didn't realize this was hidden. And so, we put them on a payment plan, and they're actually making payments every month in addition to what their normal payments are. One of them's paying $500 a month in addition to their normal payment, and the other one's paying $250, I think it is. All the other people that owed money moved out because we approached them and said, you gotta pay back this money. And so they packed up and left. The other thing that I wanted to clean up was we had at Pete Dressen. Well, between both properties, we had about 15 people who were paying full rent because they made too much money, and they shouldn't have been living here. The mission of these two projects is to help low-income people. So once we got that big rent increase on Pete Dressen, because most of them were there. Is that David?
It is Dave.
Yes. He's looking.
Yeah, I think there's somebody who was talking about.
David,
Hi.
Had a work emergency with the budget.
Oh, that's okay. We're good.
Steve, for the record, David's here at
I got it.
5:26 p.m.
Yeah.
6:26.
Yeah, 5:26 p.m. David Salazar is with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Good, thanks for showing up.
Thank you, guys.
You mind passing, do you have a packet?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
How do you want to do it?
No, we just keep on rolling where
Just
we are.
keep on?
Yeah,
Okay.
just keep on rolling.
Started with
All right, so, let's see. We've redone the office at Charles Young. If y'all have an opportunity, stop by and take a look. Is your chair still there?
I bet so. Probably need to go by and
We
pick
never
it
did get it back to you.
up. No.
If you'll give me your address, I'll have Prentice take it to your house,
Okay,
you know.
thanks.
That crossed my mind when I was writing these notes. And I thought, I don't remember ever doing that. I remember you telling me about it. So anyway, when you get an opportunity, go by there, and it just looks 100% better, or maybe 500% better than it did when I took over. And there was piles of papers stacked up in there on shelves and things.
Yeah.
All that's gone. We went through it all. And, to find out whether it was something useful or whatever, and then we basically wound up shredding pretty much all of it after we determined whether it was useful or not. We also got a new copier. That copier that was there was terrible. It wasn't that old. It was on a lease. I think it had been there for 2 years, but it didn't work half the time. And they were terrible about coming out and fixing it. So I just got fed up and had Deidre, my manager, call them and kind of give them a demand, either come and make it work right or cancel the lease. And so he agreed to cancel the lease. He said, I don't know why it doesn't work right, and the history on it is it's a lemon. So what I'm gonna do is I'll cancel the lease and I'll pick it up.
Well, that'll at least save some money on that.
Well, yeah, because it made her work very inefficient because she couldn't use it half the time. And at any rate, I got one from a company that I do business with all over, and everything works great now. Let's see, Frank, if y'all remember, I've reported to you in the past that Frank was owed a bunch of pay, that because of the lack of funds that he had never taken, checks were written and just showed up as outstanding checks on the financials and all that. All that's been paid. He's 100%
That's great.
paid in full. And then another thing is I tried to, because of some landscaping issues and the fence that surrounds Pete Dressen on 2/3 of it, I tried to get Jerry to write me a letter that the city owned that fence and the drainage ditch behind it. The fence faces the drainage ditch, the front, as opposed to, the backside faces the property, which means the front side is, that side of the land is typically who owns the fence. Well, I was trying to do that because I was trying to avoid having to fix the fence and cut down a bunch of brush that had grown up in that fence and spend a bunch of money on it. And Jerry was about this close to signing that letter for me. I drew him up a letter. He said, draw it up and I'll sign it. And then evidently he asked somebody and they came back with a plat that showed me that the fence belongs to the property. So then I had to get somebody to go out there to get all that brush knocked down and fix the fence and everything in order to make sure we didn't get written up on the REAC inspection for that. So I gave it my best shot, it just didn't work out.
Well, and code enforcement didn't cite us or anything like that.
Right,
Right.
correct, so. And I think code enforcement's who he talked to initially, or somebody over there, I don't remember. But he sent me a nice, architectural drawing that showed where the ownership started and stopped, so. Anyway, that's all been taken care of. Now, that was specific to Pete Dressen. General things, so you know. We've not gotten any more donations from, the man that gave me $20,000 last year. We have tried to get together a couple of times, and I'm still gonna try. Every time I come here, he's either in Vegas or out of town or something. I'll email him a day or two ahead of time. And he can't come, so I don't know if that's because he doesn't want to give me any more money, or the property rather. And, or if he's, he's an older guy, he's got people running his company. He sounds like he travels a lot and, whatever. But I won't quit, I'll keep trying. We've talked in the past about, there was 5 years' worth of payment in lieu of taxes that were due to the city from the properties. And I discussed it with Jerry. He asked me to give him some information on it and do some research. I did. He took it to city council and they waived it all. It was about $25,000 or $28,000 bucks. And not only did they waive it all, but they waived it in the future.
Great.
So that's not something we need to deal with anymore or worry about. I wrote an email just the other day for this meeting with Ralph Coppersmith, the guy with Franconia Claims, just to see where he was with that. And he, emailed me the next morning and said that, he had told us when we first talked to him, it was gonna be, 2 or 2.5 year process. So he said, nothing's going on yet. You're in group number 45, whatever that meant. I didn't ask,
I
but
don't know if we're 45 out of 46 or
it
45 out of 5,000.
could be.
I know.
And, but he assured me that, we're in the system, it's just a matter of time, so. And then, let's see, something else that I've been working on recently is, we've had problems with the residents because they pick up their dog's waste and throw it in a dumpster, one of their little, they got those little bitty trash cans. Each apartment's got 3 trash cans. Trash, recyclables, and then whatever the third one is, I don't remember. Blue, green, and gray. And so we got, between the 2 properties, we got 153 trash cans sitting around. And it's really kind of ugly looking. And come to find out, because the city bills us for that, they have a contract with Texas Disposal.
Right.
And so I wrote Jerry an email about 2 weeks ago. Because what happens is if the resident throws the dog waste in the wrong can, then the trash guys won't empty the can. And so my maintenance man has to go
Oh, gosh.
and get in there and get that waste out and put it, do something proper with it and all that. And so, and no matter what we've done with residents, they don't care, So I wrote Jerry an email and said, is it possible for us to get out of the trash program we have with the city and go with, you know, a private carrier and get a couple of dumpsters? He emailed me back and gave me a guy's name at Texas Disposal, copied him in the email, and said, yeah, we can do that. He said, you know, I'll have Ray Bryant, the guy from Texas Disposal, reach out to you. Ray called me, I gave him the information about both properties. He sent me a proposal, an email with numbers. And essentially, by switching from all those ugly little cans to one dumpster at each property, we'll cut our cost almost in half.
Okay.
And we don't have to worry about the maintenance guy picking waste up and, you know, all that. And so the only other thing Jerry came back and told me was city ordinance requires that we have an enclosure for each dumpster. And so he put me in touch with a guy in planning who sent me the specs. I've contacted the guy who's doing all of our roofing work. He's putting together a proposal for me to build a four-sided enclosure with gates on it, with a concrete slab under it, one at each property. And I figure by the amount of money we can save, those will probably run about $2,500 a piece. The amount of money we save in the trash bill will pay for those in about 8 months. So,
That's great.
and it'll be neater. We won't have all those trash cans. I don't know if you all have ever noticed those, but
Yeah,
they're kind of ugly.
yeah.
And I'm trying to make the places look better, so
I
And they
appreciate
roll all
it.
over the place.
Yes.
anyway, that's going on. Insurance, TMI, who's the people that have the insurance on the property, and evidently have had for many years. And all they do business with is housing authorities. And it's called TML, Intergovernmental Risk Pool.
So Texas Municipal
Texas
League.
Municipal
Yeah.
League.
And, you know, I talked to the agent that I do business with, and he said, I can't touch them. You know, I'm always trying to find a better deal, you know? But they sent me this letter here about a month ago, or 6 weeks ago, to tell me that liability rates were gonna go up about 10%, that property rates were gonna increase 20% due to continued deteriorating losses. In addition, there'll be an inflationary factor of 12% that will be applied to all building values and 8% to contents. So we're going to get a boost in insurance. And then, but I can tell you this, that is nothing. Oh, the other thing they're going to do is on wind and hail, they're going to put a cap where 1/10 of 1% of the total building value would be considered a deductible. And then they will, you know, depreciate it from there, and, you know. And I can tell you that even with these increases, this is nothing compared to the way other insurance companies are jacking insurance up. My property insurance, and I work with a big company, nationwide company. My property insurance in February, when we renewed it, I had 11 properties on that one policy. It went up 61%. Plus, they increased the deductible from 10 grand to 50.
Wow.
It's almost like, why have
We
it?
have an insurance.
But HUD requires it, so, you know, it's one of those deals. Anyway, I built these new numbers into a budget that I'm getting ready to send to USDA for P-Trust and another one that I'm getting ready to send to HUD for the Charles Young. Both of these properties, fiscal years start over on Sunday, so, or on Saturday rather, excuse me, July 1st. And so that's what these new budgets are for. And I have a couple of forms here I need you to sign, Daniel, before we go.
Okay.
I've got copies of the budgets I can show you too. So that's that. Let me see, next. Okay, on the Pete Dressen loan prepayment request, I sent that in March. And in preparation for this meeting, I sent an email to the lady at USDA that I've been dealing with, and she in fact told me that they had assigned our request to a particular guy named Kirk, something or other, and that he would be reaching out to me. And 2 days later, I got an email from him that said, I'm gonna call you, and it'll probably be next week. 2 days was 2 days ago. And so, he said he'll call me and we'll go through the application and just verify that everything's okay, although the lady I've dealt with has already told me it was okay, but somebody else has got to eyeball it. And then the next thing would be a notice to the residents and a resident meeting to let them know that that loan's gonna be paid off, and it could affect their rent, although Pete Dressen is on a HAP contract. And so it's not gonna affect their rent. And this guy at USDA may not realize that. But whatever he says needs to be done, I'll do. If I need to hold a meeting, we'll put out a notice and see if anybody shows up. And we'll also put out a written notice to him what he wants me to tell him, so. But we're probably, so March, April, May, it was late March, April, May, June. We're 3 months into that, and we're probably another 3 to 5 months from getting a decision on them as to whether or not we can pay the loan off. Jerry's anxious to pay it off, because the mayor's anxious to pay it off. Let's see, next. We're gonna get a 5% rent increase at Pete Dressen, effective December 1st. And that'll relate to about $20,790 over the course of 12 months, which is about $1,732.50 a month. The audit's been completed. And if you'd like, I can send you all a copy of it.
Did you have an electronic copy?
They sent an electronic copy to HUD, but
I mean, if you can send
I
it,
can send you a PDF of it
Yeah.
if that's, yeah.
that'd be great.
It's about 60 pages if you wanna,
Anything outstanding that,
no findings.
great.
Yeah, the only thing I can tell you outstanding about it is that both properties lost money in that, audit year, but that, I expected that. And that audit year was, ended 6/30/22. So that was a year ago. And see, that audit ends on June 30th, but they don't have, the audit doesn't have to be submitted until the following March 31st, 9 months later, which to me is a long, all the other HUD properties I do, you have 90 days to get the audit. And then this one, you have 9 months.
Interesting.
Anyway, I'll send you the audit. look through it. Future plans, I have $44,000 earmarked in capital funds for Charles Young. And I'm gonna use that to start improving, unit interiors. Charles Young's in a lot better condition than Pete Dresden is. But we're gonna go through and, analyze things like air conditioning appliances, cabinets, and front doors, and, windows and things. But it seems that all the windows have been replaced there. Anyway, I've got this capital fund set up where it's a 5-year run with 44 grand every year. And if I don't spend it, we lose it. So I gotta find stuff, and I told them in my plan, what I was gonna spend it for, but it was pretty vague, I said unit interiors, appliance, what I just told you. And, our guy at Public Housing just, he's fine. He said, I'm so glad to see you guys doing what you're doing. He said, it's amazing. So that, and let's see, Pete Dresden. David, you weren't here when I said we've recently, since June 14th, we replaced 6 roofs at Pete Dresden. We've got 9 more to go. We're gonna do those in 2 stages in August and in October. And I'm setting money aside every month, and that's why we're doing it that way. I set $9 grand a month aside in order to do roofs, and once I had enough money, I told my roofer, let's do 6, and then we'll do the rest over in 2 stages.
So that would be for the buildings that have a couple of units in each building?
Yeah, all the buildings over there have 2 units.
Right.
And so, we replaced six of the buildings, and we'll get the other 9 will be done by, the end of October or November. So, and then we're gonna start behind that, and they've heard this already, but I'll tell you. Starting in December, I'm setting aside money to start doing the exterior carpentry replacement. We're gonna replace all the siding, because it's all mushy. It's 50 years old. We're gonna replace siding, trim, fascia, everything. We're gonna do it all at Hardy Board, or something like Hardy Board, which is a concrete-based product. It's $210,000 to do that on the 15 buildings. And so I'm gonna be setting aside money every month. And then in 24, we'll start actually doing the work. And it'll all be done by the end of December of 24.
Oh, that's great.
So, and then I've got other things that I'll get into after that.
That's certainly more durable than wood.
And, let's see, what else? Then I'll start looking at, in 25, I'll be looking at parking lots repaired, seal coated and striped, and Pete Dresden, appliance and cabinet replacements in 25. That's it. It's been busy
It has been busy.
since we last met in February. I'm just so glad that we've gotten past that REAC. That'll get them off our back. I got a big congratulations from our county executive at HUD when that came out. And I won't know what that MOR report that we had done on the 23rd, I don't know what it'll look like until sometime, probably around the 23rd of July. They send that out 30 days after the actual MOR is done. So that's,
It's a lot of great work.
that's all I know.
It's a great report.
Is there, I'm just curious, is there a point between now and the end of the year that you think we would maybe want to showcase some of the changes and invite, council and some of
Absolutely.
the city staff to come by, maybe we could just
Yeah.
sponsor.
Now that we passed the REAC inspection, we can do something like that. I wouldn't do it now, though, it's too darn
Yeah,
hot.
oh, yes, but like
But-
whenever you think we'd probably be in a good spot.
Maybe next month, or
Yeah, maybe,
In August, in middle of August, that would be
maybe
great.
do it at, in October or November when all those roofs are on over at Pete. And,
That would be great. Hi,
Yeah, this is Housing Authority?
yes,
Okay, cool. I was just looking for someone for this meeting. I want to make sure it works.
okay,
Sorry about that.
thanks.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe in October or November after the roofs are done, that'd be a great idea. We discussed that at the last board
Yeah.
meeting and, I just didn't want to do it yet.
No,
But
that's
it needs
okay.
to be done. We need to have a resident gathering, and we need to invite the council and the county commissioner and, whoever y'all think needs to be invited. I don't know any of them, but y'all know who they are, so, I can reach out to Jerry and find out who to invite.
that's right.
And the
Yeah.
people from, from the county, because they gave 75 grand to the property too, so.
Yeah, that would be nice to do as well. Okay,
All right, since we.
And I did, one other thing I didn't put on this because I didn't know it was gonna happen so quick. I submitted a email to Jay Tyler at USDA on Tuesday. And I said, we have built up the reserve for replacement account. It's still not where it needs to be, where it's supposed to be, I should say, balance-wise, but there's $32,000 in it. I said, do I have to follow the HUD rule of you can't get any of that money? You have to maintain 1,000 per unit as a minimum, and then you can draw on it above that. And he emailed me back Tuesday and said, that's normally the case, but because you're in a workout plan, you can draw that money down as much as you want and send me, he said, here's a form, fill it out, follow the instructions and send it to me. I sent it to him yesterday morning and, Tuesday night. He emailed me back yesterday morning and said, send me a copy of the bank statement that verifies that you're right about the balances. And he said, and I'll look at it and get back to you in about 2 hours after I sent it. He sent it back to me, signed, approved. So that was we're gonna take 26,000 out of that 32,000. I always like to leave a little there just in case. But, and we're putting $4,059 a month into that account. This whole rent contract year, which runs from December last year through November this year. And I did that in order to build that account back to where it's supposed to be. That was part of the workout plan that I gave USDA, so, anyway, just so you know about that. And once that money gets into the operating account, which will probably be tomorrow, then, I've got some accounts receivable with the properties again, although I got most of what I had in there from, up through February paid. But now I've built some more up because we've been, again, preparing for that REACT. And so I'll pay myself some money and make sure all the bills are paid that are supposed to be. Anyway, that's all I got. I can't think of anything else.
It's a great report.
yes,
Thank
lots
you.
of great progress, thank you.
Since we established a quorum at 5:26, do we want to go back
Let's
to
go
the
back and-
approval of the previous minutes?
Yes,
The only thing I noticed, and it's on, I guess it's on the second page, A, F. The last thing says HAK, and I'm presuming that's you.
KHA,
Yeah, well, throughout the document, it refers to the housing authority as just HA. And so I saw there's a roaming K there, and then also on the last page, under CC, there's also a a wandering K.
Okay.
I'm indifferent if we want to keep it or not, but I just wanted
Just
to
be-
make that noted that,
Be the same.
That's easy to change, I use that because it's simpler. Where's the wandering K at?
last
Last page,
page,
C.
C, first line. Lieu of taxes on the housing authority. So, anyways, I'm fine leaving it, I'm just gonna note for the record that we're referring to the
Housing authority.
housing authority on both ways, so. Everyone have a chance to review them? Any edits?
No.
Got a motion?
Second.
David moves, Michelle seconds. Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved.
Okay.
Last item is, unless there's any additional business, is adjournment. And so it's 5:56 PM,
Okay.
and we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.